and these are liquid filled gauges, so they do get a little bit better reading. All right, so we got the jump box hooked up to the car. There's your gauge right there. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit into the gauge. I'm gonna go try to turn the key, see what happens, see if we get any pressure at all. Alright, try that again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be working on the NSX again. These days are few in between for me that I actually have a little bit of help and be able to get stuff done on the car, so I'm enjoying it. Unfortunately, it is a rainy day, but we have this beautiful garage to work in. So the last episode of the NSX, we ran into an issue where we got the exhaust done, but our fuel pump finally took a dump. It crapped out on us. It is no longer working. And I don't even have a mechanical gauge on there to verify my fuel pressure, and I didn't have the ECU hooked up. I don't have a pressure switch there either to see what my fuel pressure is. So there's a good chance later in the future I am going to add a fuel pressure gauge or a fuel pressure sensor, but for today I do have a mechanical gauge we're going to put in there. So let's go ahead and just start working on that, get that put together real quick, and we'll set that on the car. All right, here's some of the components we're going to be working with today. You see, I actually have two Marshall gauges to choose from. One of them goes to 60 psi, the other one goes to 100 psi, and our 6AN male-female with the insert to be able to put the gauge on there. All right, so for the application today, because I do plan on running higher fuel later in the future, I'm going to go with the 100 psi gauge, and these are liquid filled gauges, so they do get a little bit better reading, and they're smooth, not a crazy sweep or anything like that on the needle. So, and they're also a lot of very well for shock resistant. And these guys aren't super expensive. You could actually pick them up online for about $25 to $35, depending on where you get it from. But that's about the average price, 25 bucks. And of course, these little guys here, same thing, this 6AN male to female. Since we already have it made on the NSX where it's AN lines going to the fuel rail, I didn't want to have to cut the lines, make an adapter. I actually ordered these, and I got two for about 10 bucks. Same thing, ordered these guys online. But all you do is, it does come with a block off on the fitting there. So if you didn't receive your gauge, we want to hook this guy up first, you can. But yeah, all we're going to be doing is taking that little guy off. So you see right here, it's threaded. It'll just thread right on here. Just screw it on down. Get it lined up where you want to be. And there you go. Now you have a mechanical gauge in line. But before we actually mount the gauge on here, we are going to go ahead and install our fitting, our AN fitting in the line first. That way we get everything lined up. Then we can go ahead and clock the gauge, tighten it down and clock it where we need to be. Plus also put some thread sealant on here before assembly. I'm going to go ahead and share the part numbers for the two gauges that we have today. I do not have a part number for that fitting, but you just look up a 6AN fitting. Depending on what you have, you might have a 6AN, 8AN, 10AN, whatever your fuel line is. But it'll be male-female with a 1/8" NTP thread in the middle there. Let me show you the part numbers for the gauges. Here is our 60-pound gauge. That is the part number for Marshall's there. And the 100-pound gauge and the part number for it as well. All right, let's go ahead and get this little guy installed first. Put it in line in the NSX, then we'll worry about installing that gauge. Now, in the last video, we were talking about maybe installing the fuel pressure regulator that I currently have my two aftermarkets. I have Aeromotive, and then I forgot the other brand of the other one, but I have both of them here. One did have a fuel pressure sensor that I could wire into the AM Infinity that we're currently running on the car. But I don't want to use this one just yet. Mainly because I'm saving this for the new engine setup that'll be after all this is done. My whole plan on this is making sure that this will run all OEM style, meaning just a stock engine, before we go crazy and do a built engine, built J series with add-ons and things like that. That's what I'll save this for, because this will go onto that engine setup with new fuel lines. a lot of quick disconnect trick stuff that we're gonna do for, you know, racing applications. So let's say I hurt an engine mid-race or something like that. I could drop it out, pull it back in. If you guys remember, with the J series now, I could actually drop the whole engine transmission out without taking the subframe, which is the coolest thing ever. So knowing that that is a possibility, it makes it easier to change out, God forbid, I'm at a race and something goes out. So we're gonna save these guys. We're not gonna use them right now. We're just gonna put that fuel gauge in. All right, I'm gonna try to keep my face out of the camera as best as possible. And also it keeps me from having to bend over so much. But as you can see right here, this is our fuel filter, and this is our fuel line that feeds in to the engine. We're gonna go ahead and take this little guy off. I should already have it somewhat loose, yes. I had one of the guys break it loose for me last week. So we'll go ahead and take this little guy off. And I hope I got the right size, because honestly, I don't remember if this was a 6 or an 8. It actually looks a little bigger, but I'm pretty sure everything was 6 AN, not 8 AN. But let's see. So here's our new fitting. Oh yeah, that looks like it might be it. Yep, all right, thank God. It's the right fitting, right size. So we'll go ahead and tighten this little guy up. Now I do want the hole facing upward on my setup. So because it does swivel, I'm gonna hold this side with another wrench, which I think it was 19, while I tighten this up here to try to keep that hole in place for me as I button it up. Again, guys, this is aluminum piping. You don't have to make it super tight. You just got to make it tight enough and snug so it all compresses together. See what I mean? Just like that's all the force you need. Shouldn't need to go any more than 15 foot-pounds or anything like that. And I say that while I'm not using a torque wrench or anything. That's about what I could do on here. So as you can see now, we got it straight in line. I can fit my gauge there. We're gonna go ahead and put this guy back on there. So now we complete the line. If we don't do this before, you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to get your gauge on there, or trying to get these fittings on if you had the gauge in place. All right. What up? All right. I'll go ahead and tighten this little guy up. And I'm actually going to use the larger wrench to hold it in place, so I don't want it to twist. There we go. And guys, this is actually really easy work. It's not hard at all. It's a little hard for me because I'm limited on how far I can bend and things and pull. But as you can see right here, super easy. It is all aluminum. About 15 plus foot-pounds. That's all you need. And voila, now we have fitting in line with a 1/8 inch MPT fitting. So we can put our gauge. Let's go ahead and get the gauge, get that going. All right guys, here we go. I went ahead and put a little bit of Loctite on my threads here. I used the blue Loctite. That way we could always be able to take it back. It does help seal with the fuel. You just gotta make sure you let it dry. Now, some people say, hey, why use Loctite, yada, yada, yada. It works. Trust me, there's a lot of builds out there using this. Brake fluid on fuel. They'll use a little bit of Loctite. But we'll go ahead and set this guy down, start threading it. Go all the way down until she stops by hand. And we're gonna snug it up a little bit. This is a 7/16, because there's a square fitting on the back of this. So you can go ahead and tighten her up. And I am gonna go pretty tight with it. That's about where she stopped right there. So the only shitty part, in my opinion, is that that's about where it stopped right there. And the gauge is 180 out on me. As far as I'm looking at it from this direction, you can see here's the 0, here's my 100. It'd be cool if it was facing this way, but honestly, it's not that bad. I'd rather either have it straight the other way around, or you look at it from this side, you can see the full gauge, or backward works. Either way, I'll be able to read it and know exactly where we're at. If it's at 6 o'clock position, I'm at the right fuel pressure, anywhere from 40 to 50, no, 43 to 53. And then it'll just make it easier to read either way instead of 12 o'clock. But she's tight, it's on there. We'll let that be. I'm gonna go ahead and put the battery back on it. We're gonna see if we actually have fuel pressure, because I believe, like I said, our fuel pump took a shit. This will definitely verify it, see where our fuel pressure's at. It might be weak, it might still be coming on. We could barely hear it now. And it's a race fuel pump that I had in there prior, but we'll be swapping it out, put a new fuel pump in. All right, so we got the jump box hooked up to the car. There's your gauge right there. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit into the gauge. I'm gonna go try to turn the key, see what happens, see if we get any pressure at all. All right, try that again. Look at that. We ended up getting a little bit of fuel pressure here. We're only looking at 20 pounds. 20 pounds of fuel pressure. Should be somewhere around 45 right now. 42 to 45. So, as you can see, we only have about 20 pounds of fuel pressure. I don't hear the pump. Normally you can hear the pump buzzing. That could all be pull vacuum from the engine. Just the injector's pulsing and moved a little bit of pressure through. I don't know. But 20 PSI is nothing compared to what we need for startup on here. Also, the battery's completely dead again for some reason. Might end up having to buy a battery for this car. I've swapped them around a couple times, different batteries. Put a charge on them and only holds for a little bit. So, and I leave it disconnected in between charges. So, don't know why it's low, what's going on there, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave it charging for a little while. I'm gonna come back and we'll try it again. I'm gonna try this again. I tried to review some of the footage and I saw that my fuel pressure actually jumped all the way to 40, 45, and then dropped back down when I stopped turning the engine over. So what I went and did is actually connected to my GoPro, the GoPro to my phone, because I hadn't done that in a while. I've been using this new DJI, but it broke at IFO. So I went in and I'm sending it out. In the meantime, we're back to the GoPro, but I'm gonna use the phone while I turn the key so I could actually watch the fuel pressure. So we're gonna set the camera down where I want it to be at. There we go. Too close. Let's try not to go that close to the camera. All right, let's try this again. It's getting annoying as shit. Relocated the GoPro so I can see a little better, and hopefully it won't fall over. Let's see if we can get any fuel pressure out of this thing right now. Well, one thing's been solved. All right, well, there you have it. Fuel pump is actually kicking on. I hear it after the fact. Normally I had it key on, was fuel pump start, and apparently I must have made a change on the programming, and I had the autosave active. So something got autosaved on there, so now fuel pump only kicks on as the engine's turning with crank on. Before, I had the initial prime like a normal Honda does. So I had fuel pump kick on the initial prime, and then it'll keep running while driving. Now it's only at crank. I don't get the initial drive, but some of the parameter must have been changed because the engine's not running. So something was auto-saved at some point that I didn't see. I fat-fingered it somewhere. So I was like, okay, at least I'm glad I don't have to drop the tank and replace the pump anytime soon. Also, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and show it to you. Let me go get this fuel pump real quick, because I was expecting that I needed a fuel pump, so I ordered one online. But when I got it, most things nowadays, it looked like it was a fucking open box, and somebody returned it missing the strainer, which is definitely needed on this particular one. I can't reuse the Honda one that's on there. They don't fit the pumps. I went with a 340 pump, air motive, but I'll go ahead and show it to you. All right, this air motive right here came in and wasn't sealed, wrapped. You tell a bunch of stuff was already pulled out of it. I guess that was the cap that wasn't on the strainer, and it's just got 2 worm clamps, and that's about it. It is supposed to come with a little square strainer. That's the perfect size for this NSX. They have the pigtail still. You see here, it's air motive stealth. It was good for E85. It's 11541 fuel pump. So now I'm gonna have the awesome opportunity to send it back to the distributor and be like, hey, 1, it's missing parts, it's missing the strainer. 2, I am, just give me a refund. I'm not gonna worry about it for now. My fuel pump is working. So the fuel pump works, that's not the issue. It's in the programming. I honestly don't know what I hit wrong there when I did that. It's dumb of me. I don't know if I was just in a rush and I might have been making some other changes. I opened a wrong file. Second last time to look at something, and then when I shut off the car, it saved that programming. That's the one thing I don't like about the AEM is you have those options there, and it's kind of nice if you forget stuff, but at the same time, you see where it screws you. So I was gonna go back and grab my laptop and go change it, get the car started. Well, my dumb ass in a rush this morning to get out here to the garage, I grabbed the wrong laptop. I grabbed my work laptop for encryption and stuff instead of my car laptop with all my tuning software. And it's about an hour drive. So guess what? This is gonna end the video for today. I'm sorry. It's always like a fucking delay. But I don't have it in me to drive all the way back home and grab the laptop, try to come back and start the car. I'm done. I'm tired. A lot of gas, spinning back and forth. I'll just have to wait another weekend that I'm available, and I have other people available. But thankfully, it is not the fuel pump. That was a big thing. So, yeah, I think that's gonna call it for us today, guys. I appreciate hanging out with me just a little bit today. You know, basic dumb shit, you know. Yeah, I'm a little upset with myself. Yeah, 1, that I forgot the laptop. 2, that I allowed for ECU changes to happen without verifying that I was on the right tune. But yeah, I probably went to one of my old tunes on there that I had to begin with by accident, just reviewing an injector pulse, and I screwed it all up because that one's drive-by-wire, and I had something else set up for the later future things. But yeah, that's gonna call it, guys. I appreciate you hanging out. Catch you in the next one.